You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Square Media Tuscaloosa.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Websites. Fill out the Advertise Here form. Put the power of Town Square Media to work for your business.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a Tuesday edition of Inside the Locker Room, 205-342-9904. If you'd like to jump in on the show with us this morning, we'd love to have you in. The X accounts at Locker Room 109 at Barry Sanderson at Wimp Sanderson 1. Email for the show, Wimp and Barry at yahoo.com. Download that app, that Tide 100.9 app. You can do a ton of things with the app. You get all the stories. You can listen to all the shows. You got Coach's show tomorrow night. So get the app on your smartphone. You can send us a message right there on the app. We'll read it out over the air. We want to thank Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer that is closest to you. Normal Tuesday as far as the first hour, Kevin Skarbinski will join us. Hopefully, Tim Brando will be with us in the second hour. We'll try Tim again this morning. Good morning, Chase. Good morning, Dad. How are you guys doing this morning?
We're doing fine. Not a whole lot to talk about on Georgia Week. I guess there should be more, but we have great guests, I think, and they can enlighten you more than I can. Barry can tell you whatever. A lot of teams are moving around. I'm not going to get into all of Utah State. I think is big going to Pac-12. Pac-12 is not going to be bad. In name, it's not going to be great, but in football ability, it's going to be pretty good. Probably Oklahoma will start a freshman, the Hawkins kid, against not anything. I don't think he did wrong. I said they benched him. I think they just tried both people against Tennessee. But there'll be a freshman starting against Auburn, if that means anything. Bush has sued. He's lawyered up, of course. They love to lawyer up. He's lawyered up, and he sued the NCAA, and he's sued the Pac. He sued whoever Pac-12 back then, Pac-10, whatever it was, and the school for not getting his NIL money. So we'll see what happens there. The Phillies get into playoffs. It's been a long time, since 2011 or something, they said. In the East, LSU, really, if Alabama lost somebody like that, you really be calling in. But they lost Harold Perkins, the linebacker for the year with ACL injury. He's a great linebacker for them. I think it's really costly to them to lose a guy like that, so it's always costly. I watched a little of the pros last night. The Bills won. They beat the Jaguars. Washington plays hard. They beat Cincinnati. The blue plate for me is really hard. I've studied it pretty much best I could, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Of course, we open up with Kentucky and Ole Miss at 11 o'clock our time, 17.5-point favorite. Ole Miss is at home. Arkansas Texas A&M next. Oklahoma Auburn will be the 2:30 game before all the festivities will be going on at Tuscaloosa. I'm sure Barry can tell you a whole lot more about it than I can. And then, of course, the 6:30 game on ABC and ESPN Plus will be Georgia and Alabama. There's just not a whole lot to talk about, so we welcome your calls. Tim will give you a chance to call and complain, I'm sure. Okay, that's it.
All right. This be Kirby Smart's second time coaching since he left Alabama. First time he came was in 2020, but unfortunately that was the COVID year, so you had limited fans. I think they said there was 19,424 fans at the game, so obviously there'll be a lot more. But he said, it's you're kind of in and you're out. It's more about the players than him coming back. He said, I was there for 9 years. My kids grew up there, so coming back is special. But he talked about Coach Saban's fingerprints are still on this program. He recruited most of the players there, but I think it's probably, he's 1-5 against Alabama, whatever, against Nick Saban. You can say whatever, but I do think he probably would like to come back here deep down and get this game, but he's not going to get out in the media, not like it's a must win or anything like that. But
I think Kirby Smart, regardless of whether you like him or dislike him, and I happen to like him, is that he's sound and sane with what he says. He's not braggadocious because of what they've done. He keeps that pretty much under wraps, and I think he does an excellent job of recruiting. Whether he learned that from a coach or not, I don't know. He put his own fingerprints on it, and really, they've had the problems with speeding over there, which they're trying to straighten out. But everybody's got a problem. If you don't have a problem, then you're big time. So I think he's sound and sane. What he says, I got no problem. It doesn't matter whether I do or not. Anyway, all I am is nothing. But he's good.
Yeah, he's good in front of the media. Kalen DeBoer's good in front of the media. Nick Saban's good in the media, and Hugh Freeze is awful in front of the media. Absolutely awful. This guy every day says stuff. Chase, let's play the clip last night on his radio show. He basically talked about the Arkansas game. I'll let you hear the clip, and then we'll comment on it. Play the clip about Hugh Freeze last night, Chase.
And those are the truths of the game, and and it's the truth for me too. I'm not, because we've got to get them to where the winning ways are happening on those critical downs. I mean, no offense whatsoever to Arkansas or to Cal. I love Sam Pittman. I hope he wins the rest of his games. But I'm telling you, the hard truth is, we play them 9 more times, we beat them 9 times. And that's what's hard to take. And it's hard for our fans, I'm sure, and it's certainly hard for us. And you have 460-something yards, and we only had 50-something plays of offense because we turned it over 5 times. And it's just it's frustrating.
All right, Dad, he tells they played Sam Pittman in Arkansas 9 more times. They'd beat them 9 times. One of the problems he has is they got to go to Arkansas next year. So you don't think Arkansas is going to use that. What a stupid statement for Hugh Freeze to make. Your thoughts?
Well, I a little bit different than some. I maybe he didn't word it quite right. That's what we're looking at, the wording of it. I think it was a hard game to swallow because the running back is into the end zone at the 5-yard line, between the 5-yard line and the goal line, fumbles the football. Was, I thought, the biggest play of the game. And then, of course, the interceptions. Most coaches say we got to teach them better. They got to understand they can't gamble on their passes, those kinds of things. I was careful what I said back years ago, but there are frustrating times. I wouldn't have said anything about playing Arkansas. You're exactly right. I left Arkansas out of it. I just
Well,
But I just thought I could see for the first they should have won the game, I think, but I don't know.
Please don't make it. I mean, that's pitiful for him to say that. And I mean, first of all, they look like a very poorly coached team. They didn't recruit the quarterback situation well.
No, they didn't.
So that all lays right at his feet.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of him
that's right.
trying to blame everybody else. No, you were stupid by looking at those quarterbacks and thinking they were good enough to win. You have the transfer portal right there at your beck and call. You've got plenty of money to go get what you got to get, and you didn't get it done, period. Stop making excuses. Stop saying you should have beat Nick Saban 4 times. Stop.
You're right. I visited with Jack Kroll on the phone. He's going to be on tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. And he was bragging about what a great play caller the guy at Arkansas is, and how hard he thinks he's really terrific doing that. And that follows up by what Barry said. You know, he got wherever on the plane or in the car. He went to Boise State, and I think it's Boise State, and he saw the Green kid and liked him and visited with him personally and recruited him. What Auburn did was they told you, the public, that the quarterbacks they had were fine, that they were surrounded by better people. The wideouts in the first game were terrific, best that Auburn's had in a long time. And but the Brown kid and the other kid didn't deliver at the right time. So,
well, he screwed it up so bad. And then he's bad-mouthed them so bad, they got no idea who to play this weekend. No clue. Do we go young and get this guy some experience, or do we go back to Peyton Thorne? If you go back to him and he flops again, like they don't know where to go now. And the way you handled it is very poor. So anyway, I think he's over his head.
I just think I was telling people before I got on, I think you just need to use the word "we" more, and say off the opponents, and just we got to get that. I just don't get.
When they win, he says "I."
Yeah,
I call the play. But when they lose, it's they. It's.
I don't think John. From what I talked to John a little bit because he's a Tuscaloosa guy, the athletic director, and always seems to be interested in what I say or whatever. And I think he's on board with him. I think that when you start trying to find somebody outside of the name Lane Kiffin that comes up at every job, there's nobody around that's a name that draws money. The biggest problem they have at Arkansas is I think the guy's a terrific person and a pretty good football coach at Arkansas, but I don't know that he's the kind of guy that's going to go in there and raise a bunch of money for Arkansas. The money is laying there. So that, Barry, I don't know who you hire if you fire.
Yeah, I just don't. I thought Hugh Freeze was better than this. Right now, he's not very good in front of the media. He should know better. He's embarrassing. And if I were John Cohen, I would have to call him in. I know he's making 5 times what I'm making, and I would rip him if I were John Cohen. I don't know if John Cohen would do that, and if they can do it. But what he's doing, he's alienating the Auburn fan base in year 2 real fast. 2-minute truck, they're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to prepare for this move. Whether it's local, out of town, out of state, or you just need stuff moved around the house. Moving is stressful. These guys will take all the stress away for you. They'll do a great job for you. 205-247-5050. 2-minute truck movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa Thread.
Good Tuesday morning, on a 3-2 vote, Northport City Council gave developers of the $350 million University Beach Resort quasi-governance over the property just off US 82 West. The council appointed the 2 Texas developers and a California investor as lone members to that district board. A final vote on that improvement district will be set for a later date. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather. It's free all throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Yeah, we're not doing so badly outside right now. Pretty insignificant delays in most places. Now, Coaling, good morning to you. Let's talk here about Highway 11 in both directions between Lower Coaling and Hagler Coaling Road. You do have some pretty patchy delays from time to time.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Visit us at 3537 Skyland Boulevard East or online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. A few spots could see a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon or this evening. The high today 91, the low tonight 68. Tomorrow cloudy with occasional rain, the high 80. Thursday breezy, rain much of the day, the high 74. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Alabama Crimson Tide lives right here.
Down to the pylon. Touchdown, Alabama.
On Tide 100.9.
Come back to Inside the Locker Room. I think Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern want to build the 5-star backyard. Then Yellowwood is the only choice. Go to Yellowwood.com to find a dealer closer to you. All right, to the Yellowwood hotline, get Pat in. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, guys. Hey, has Governor Ivey got to send the DEA and ATF down to Lee County? Because undoubtedly somebody's smoking Sinsemilla down there. Undoubtedly.
He's embarrassing, the stuff that he says.
Oh, man. That's incredible that every coach that I've ever known has taken full responsibility for having crap for players.
Can you imagine you got to go to Arkansas next year and you just went on a radio show and said if you played them 9 times, you'd beat them 9 times?
Hey. Arkansas, because y'all understand that when Arkansas decides to do it, that they got more money than Carter got little liver pills.
Yes.
That Mr. Tyson over there is, hey, every time I buy a ham sandwich, I'm giving Arkansas money. You realize that?
We got that figured out, both of us.
Yeah, every time you go to Walmart, too.
And worse than that, Jerry Jones is an alumni from there, too. But if they decide that they want to buy them a team, not much stopping them. But let's go back to what Coach Saban said. Coach Saban said if you pay the wrong players, and I'm not going to say what he said, but you're out of luck. Thank God he didn't pay Eli Holstein. Eli Holstein is balling out up at Pittsburgh, is he not?
Yes, he is. He's doing a great job. Then it's just getting the opportunity. He was always pretty highly rated quarterback. There's just so many guys in front of him. So good for him.
I followed him in high school, in recruiting, and that he was actually showed a whole lot better numbers than what Arch Manning did down in Louisiana. And so I'm glad for the young man that he went and got him an opportunity. I wish he'd have waited his turn, because to have Eli and Ty whenever Jalen leaves sure would have been special.
Yeah, Eli Holstein's attempted 129 passes, completed 87 for 1,183 yards. He's thrown 12 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. So
sounds pretty good to
Auburn
me.
should have gotten him.
Yeah, Auburn should have been.
That's what I'm talking about. What I just said. Coach Saban said you paid the wrong person, you were in trouble.
Yeah, they went and got Peyton Thorne.
You know,
I don't want to be critical of Peyton Thorne. He is what he is, but
well, exactly that. But that's the one thing the NFL misses on, though. The NFL misses on so many these number one quarterbacks that they take. That so many are busts. Can you say Gino Torretta?
Well, I think I want to speak for Dad. I think he was a little bit worried about Bryce Young was a small quarterback. You get him up in that NFL, like Andy Dalton looked terrific this weekend where Bryce Young couldn't move that team at all. So they miss on these quarterbacks a lot.
Well, and you put Bryce in the right situation, he may flourish too. The school's still out on that deal.
Sure.
And but hey, it's that's the one quarterback's the one deal that's real hard to hit on. And you can be a great, just like that other guy down at Florida, Tim Tebow, was still, I think, the greatest college athlete to ever play the game. And but wasn't so much in the pros,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
That's right.
But hey, guys, have a great afternoon. And like I said, maybe the DEA needs to go to Lee County.
Thank
have
you,
a
Pat.
good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pat. So we'll see. Eli Holstein, though, was a guy that came from Louisiana. He's at Pittsburgh now, and he's doing really well. So good for him. And he had to get himself in a situation where he's playing. But I think the quarterback situation's worked out here for Alabama. Don't you, Dad? Milrose, good. And they got a good backup there in Ty Simpson that'll be ready to go next year when he gets this opportunity.
Yeah, not any doubt. It's gone fine. They know exactly what to. Alabama's got good players. They get them to play hard, and they don't talk much, and they're good.
All right, we'll get to Kevin Skarbinski. We'll go ahead and take our break here and get to Kevin. We always run a little extra long with Kevin, so we'll have plenty of time with him. We'll see what he has to say about this Auburn situation, about Kirby Smart bringing his team back to Tuscaloosa for the second time since he left and went to the University of Georgia. Listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Yeah, we're not doing so badly outside right now. Pretty insignificant delays in most places. Now, Coaling, good morning to you. Let's talk here about Highway 11 in both directions between Lower Coaling and Hagler Coaling Road. You do have some pretty patchy delays from time to time. Otherwise, moving very smooth at our popular point in town, and that is, of course, McFarland at Lurleen Wallace intersection. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
or Town Square Media Tuscaloosa radio websites. Fill out the Advertise Here form. Put the power of Town Square Media to work for your business.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
Barry?
Yep.
Just got a text from Tim Brando. I guess he doesn't want to be fussed at giving me his top 15. I hadn't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I don't know what it is. You can tell our listeners.
He doesn't want to be fussed at. What do you mean?
That's right. What is it? Where
I think he finally. He didn't have Alabama ranked the week before. I think he put him at 7.
We got him. We said we got it. He overslept and ruined our chance to fuss.
Well, we're going to still fuss. So, all right, but we don't worry about Tim Brando right now. We got our main man, Kevin. So you get to the Yellowwood hotline. He's writes for the Birmingham Lead, joins us every Tuesday. Kevin Skarbinski. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Hey, Kevin. Good morning, guys. Just so you know, I never oversleep on Tuesdays.
Tim Brando overslept on us last Friday. Of course, he was doing the Nebraska game that night. So what's more important, his rest or doing our show, Kevin? So
no excuses.
Everybody was salivating for us to get a piece of Tim Brando, and he didn't show. So maybe
maybe he knew that.
Yeah. I know we're supposed to ask you about Alabama, Georgia, and we will. But since you got two kids at Florida, if Billy can make it through the year 500. Maybe a game above 500. Is he going to save his job because the new president and new AD out there, not a new AD, but they could be if they're not careful, kind of mess the top. What your thoughts on that before we go to the Alabama-Georgia game?
Well, yeah, he's got to win some football games.
I know that.
He's got to win some football games against some teams that maybe they're not supposed to beat, and then don't lose to, for example, they play Central Florida. It would not be good for the University of Florida, although it wouldn't be the first time, to lose to the University of Central Florida.
Okay.
Because obviously they're not on the same level and they're not in the same conference. And even though UCF may be, I think they're bigger now in terms of enrollment than Florida, which is hard to believe because Florida's massive. Florida has about 55,000 students down there. So, they're a bigger school in population, but I mean, come on, you're not. And I know Gus. Look, that's the kind of game Gus would win.
But that's not a smart schedule, Kevin. You don't play Central Florida when you're at Florida. I'm sorry.
No.
They're not defending anybody very well. Florida's not.
Yeah, you just
Florida's defense and their run defense in particular is not very good. And then you look at the schedule ahead of who they have to play. It doesn't look like they're going to win a whole lot of more football games. Now, if he coaches out the year, you don't lose to Central Florida. You don't lose to a bad Florida State team at the end of the year. He has yet to beat Florida State. You got to beat your rivals. Tennessee may be too much to ask, but they have had Tennessee's number for decades now, no matter who is coaching at Florida or in Knoxville. So if Tennessee is as good as we think they are, the way they've showed so far, if they could get them, then I think that would help him. But I don't know I don't see how you make a coaching change. I don't see how you allow, and look, I like Scott Strickland. I like him personally. I've known him back to his days at Auburn as a sports information director. I think he's a genuinely good guy. And look at the rest of their sports. They're competing nationally. Baseball, basketball's gotten better under Todd Golden. I think they'll be competitive again this year. Whatever you want to name. Florida's been the best overall athletic department in the SEC for a long time, even though Tennessee won. They finished ahead of them, like third nationally to Florida's fourth in the Directors' Cup last year. But the rest of the athletic department looks healthy. It's just in the sport that draws the most eyeballs and earns the most revenue, they have been in an abyss.
Yeah.
And that's what they got to pull out of. You have to see hope. You have to see hope to keep them. And who would come? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, there's guys that are good in front of the media, and then there's Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is the absolute. Every week I say, last night. I mean, it gets worse every week, Kevin. I mean, you don't go on your radio show and say you like Sam Pittman, but if you played Arkansas 9 times, you'd beat them 9 times. They got to go to Arkansas next year. I mean, this guy, I'm not sure, Kevin. I think he may be over his head because I don't see any. I mean, somebody's got to get to him and tell him to shut up, that he is killing his program. Your thoughts?
Well, and then I don't know if you saw this. Hunter Yurachek, the Arkansas athletic director, he retweeted a post from Brandon Marcello about which has if you don't believe he said it, Brandon clipped the audio, and Hugh Freeze absolutely said that.
Yeah, we played.
And Hunter Yurachek's repost was a bunch of laughing emojis. When the Arkansas athletic director is laughing at you in public, that's embarrassing to you, to your school, your program. And Hugh Freeze continues to do things to make people laugh at him, pity him, and have all kinds of negative emotions towards him. I don't understand it. And by the way, I looked it up. Hugh Freeze has coached against Arkansas as a head coach 8 times. You know what the record is? 4-4. So he ain't beaten Arkansas 9 times in a row with the same team or different teams over different times. He's had almost 9 opportunities against Arkansas. He won his first 2 at Ole Miss. Then he lost his last 3 to the Hogs. One of them was an embarrassing 30-0 shutout. Then he beat him at Liberty. You'll remember his last year at Liberty. They did beat Arkansas. And then the last 2 years at Auburn won last year, and Arkansas won Saturday. So he's just a man that it's mind-boggling because he did coach in the SEC before. He has been a head coach at this level. He acts like he hasn't been. He acts like he came from a high school program and just took over in the SEC and is in over his head. That's what makes it even worse, that he's been in this league. Now, that's why I didn't understand the hire in the first place, because what did he do while he was a head coach in the SEC? Besides beating Nick Saban twice, one of them was a complete fluke, the second game. They did win the game. The game in Tuscaloosa, obviously, we remember the tipped pass and the long touchdown pass and some freaky things that happened. But they did win the game. Credit to them. But if that was the basis for hiring him, first of all, Nick Saban is no longer coaching in the league, so that invalidates that. But what did he do? He never won the division, never got to Atlanta. Ole Miss still hasn't gotten to Atlanta. So I said it at the time, he was dollar store Gus Malzahn.
Does John Cohen need to shut the door and tell this? Let's be a one-way conversation. I mean, can an AD do that in the SEC with a football guy that's making 3 or 4 times more than them? But he's embarrassing the athletic department right now, Kevin.
Absolutely, he is. And John Cohen should do that. I don't know if he's done that, and Hugh Freeze refuses to listen or tells him, "Look, I'm the football coach. I'm making however many millions of dollars he's making, certainly more than John Cohen. You're not really you can't tell me what to do."
Yeah.
Because Hugh Freeze has demonstrated he is very sensitive to criticism. He does not handle it well. And his reaction is to get defensive, to place the blame on others, primarily his players. and so Auburn is in a really bad place right now, because they are staring. If they don't beat Oklahoma, they're staring at 2-6, maybe 2-7.
Yeah.
And it is starting to look. This is what I wrote in my column in the Lead yesterday. It's starting to look like 1998 when the bottom dropped out on Terry Bowden and he resigned halfway through the season. 2008 when the bottom dropped out on Tuberville and he was forced out. 2012 when they didn't win a game in the SEC under Gene Chizik 2 years after a national championship, and he was dismissed. And 2022 when things started to go haywire for Brian Harsin. And when your record after 17 games is 1 game worse than Brian Harsin overall and 1 game worse than Brian Harsin in the SEC, you have to wonder, how much longer is he going to be there? How much longer should he be there? And the answer to me seems to be becoming increasingly clear that he's not the man for that job.
When you fire, you got to hire.
Dad, I'm saying, like, normally I am pro coach, but this guy, he makes it hard, and the way he acts, it's almost immature. I mean, come on, Lane Kiffin kind of gave him a backhand because he talked about his quarterbacks and how they back them, and they take responsibility if the play's not good, and he said what he said was pretty good there. I don't know.
Yeah, Lane's good at this subtle dig.
Yeah.
Without naming the target.
Yes.
He makes it really clear who he's talking about someone else.
Yes. Alabama, Georgia. Whoever loses, obviously, the season's not over. They still got a chance to be in the top 12. Of course, you don't want to get blown out. But Kirby Smart, I guess probably maybe if you want to say pressure, maybe the pressure's on him. I guess pressure's on both at these programs. But just your thoughts about Kirby Smart coming back here. His record, that's got to eat at him a little bit against Alabama. I'm sure he wants to get that fixed. Just your thoughts about this weekend.
Well, it's a big game. There's no question about it. It is not the biggest game that either team will play this season. There's a good chance they will meet again this season down the road, at least once, maybe twice. Could be the SEC championship game and then again in the playoff. But it matters. It matters for different reasons. It won't knock either team out of the playoff race or the SEC race. But it will leave an impression, and it will send a message. Is Kirby capable of beating Alabama without Nick Saban? Because he struggled mightily to do so when Nick Saban was on the Alabama sideline. Can Kalen DeBoer be a big-time winner at Alabama by winning these kind of games? Nick Saban was excellent in these kind of games. Can Kalen DeBoer continue that tradition? And by the way, Kalen DeBoer was pretty darn good in big games at Washington. Just ask Dan Lanning in Oregon how good he was in preparing his team and then coaching on the sideline in very, very, very big games in the regular season and in conference championships. So he's got a track record of being able to do that. But there will be judgments made on both programs, both head coaches, based on how this goes. You know, is Georgia slipping a little bit after what we saw at Kentucky, or was that a blip on the radar, just like their trip to Missouri 2 years ago, when they barely escaped? They had to come from behind against a lesser opponent like Kentucky a couple of weeks ago, and then they went on and went undefeated and won the national championship and destroyed TCU in the final. So there are a lot of question marks here. And then you have the added intrigue of Georgia's ridiculous regular season winning streak. It's over 40 now. An SEC regular season winning streak. It's ridiculous how many games they've won in a row in the regular season. Of course, the last team to beat them in the regular season, I may be wrong, I believe it was Alabama in 2020, but it's just crazy how good they've been over this period of time. And the one team that handled them during this period of time, usually it was in the SEC championship game, was Alabama. So so many great storylines. The great the offensive genius for Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, with the most explosive offense in the country. The defensive wizard, Kirby Smart for Georgia, with one of the best defenses in the country. So it's one of those classic immovable force versus the irresistible force against the immovable object. Which side's going to give? Just all kinds of reasons to watch this game. Clear your calendar. Pull up a chair and watch this game from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Well, I think for both of you, the if comes into play on Tuesdays before the game. And the if is, if Georgia were to lose, they have to play Texas, who's good enough to beat them, I guess. Texas has struggled quarterback-wise maybe a little bit more than we thought. They do have Tennessee. My question would be, if Alabama were to win the game and Texas or Tennessee were to beat them, are you telling me that Georgia would still be in the 12-team playoff?
I'm telling you, you make a good point, Wimp. Georgia has the more obvious losable games ahead, more than Alabama does. Now, Alabama also has to play Tennessee, and they have to go to Knoxville to do it. So that's going to be a challenge. But LSU does not look as formidable, and now Harold Perkins, their best defensive player, is out for the year after getting hurt Saturday. So LSU is a challenge, but they're not maybe the challenge that we thought they might be. At least it doesn't appear so. But Alabama gets, of the newbies, they get Oklahoma, not Texas. Clearly much better to play Oklahoma this year than Texas. and Georgia has to go to Texas. So yes, it puts Georgia. It doesn't knock Georgia out. They still have every opportunity to go, 11-1, 10-2, maybe 9-3. They could get in. I don't know, depending on how everything else shakes out in the league and around the country. And Georgia has to play Ole Miss. Do they play Ole Miss? I believe.
Yeah, at Ole Miss.
Yeah. So, and Alabama and Ole Miss do not play this year.
Right.
So, and who did Lane Kiffin pay off in the SEC office for the schedule they have? Oh my goodness!
Georgia's schedule.
Oh my goodness!
Texas's schedule is a joke.
Texas has a great schedule.
Texas the same way.
Yes.
Ole Miss, and then of course now at least Texas scheduled Michigan. Yeah. The teams that Ole Miss chose to play in the non-conference is an absolute embarrassment. And I'll tell you what. Ole Miss better not lose 2 or 3 games in the SEC because that could factor in and knock them out of an at-large spot because they did not challenge themselves at all in the non-conference. We're a month into the season and they have not played a decent challenger yet.
All you will hear 4 years from now is Goober's old guys. I'm telling you one thing: Lane Kiffin was Ole Miss. He was really a good coach. They'll carry on about that. My point in making this is the schedule will be forgotten. That's the way
it won't be. Well, hold on a second. It should not be forgotten by the committee.
No, I agree with that.
Not be forgotten by that committee. That's what they're supposed to. Yeah. That's one of the factors they're supposed to weigh. And like I said, if they drop a couple, then that's going to hurt them in that committee room. Based on again who they're competing with for an at-large spot.
I don't trust committees.
I wonder.
With good reason.
I wonder.
With good reason.
When they scheduled Wake Forest, was Wake Forest down? Wake Forest had a little run there where they were pretty good. So
yeah, but come on, they weren't even ACC championship good, and ACC championship good ain't SEC championship good.
I hear you, but Ole Miss is Ole Miss. I think they're smarter with their schedule than Florida. Florida, you can overschedule too.
Yes.
You're playing Miami, Florida State, and Central Florida. I don't think that's smart.
No. There's a sweet spot in between there.
Yeah.
And Alabama has I think Alabama, and Greg Byrne has referenced this, that they're very happy with their scheduling model. It's been really smart. And a lot of those, I wrote about this before Alabama went to Wisconsin. It was one of those name games where Wisconsin has a name, but the name on the jersey was not as good as the actual team and the players in the jerseys. Like Clemson, it all started with that 2008 Clemson game. Clemson was ranked in the top 10, but Clemson was not as good as the name Clemson historically. Who else did they play? Virginia Tech a couple of times. One of those Virginia Tech teams was legit. They played USC when USC wasn't great under Clay Helton, although they ended up having a really good season that year. And some other teams like that. So West Virginia was in that run. Michigan, 2012, was in that run under Brady Hoke. Alabama. They played those neutral site games usually in Atlanta, where Alabama would have a home crowd advantage. It was brilliant scheduling. So you did say, well, look, we played a Power 5 at the time, major name opponent. Well, yeah, they had the name, but their game wasn't really as good as their name, and so Alabama's schedule model's been really smart. And then they play the Colorado States, the South Floridas, the teams that are sometimes solid and might give you a little trouble, but really weren't a threat to beat you. So that's really the way to go in between. If Florida's the extreme at overscheduling, I think Ole Miss is the extreme at underscheduling.
Yeah, I just wish Alabama would play like the Jacksonville States and those teams instead of the Mercers and those teams. Take care of the in-state of some.
Oh, you are preaching to the choir, my friend. I've gotten hammered by Alabama fans through the years, and of course the letters UAB have entered prominently into that discussion.
No, I get
it. If you're going to play you're going to play teams from Conference USA or now the AAC.
Y'all all got on me in basketball. I was a scheduling genius.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we would have preferred an occasional game against the Green and Gold.
Scheduling genius.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Well, Barry knows I was.
Scheduling genius?
Yeah,
you were
sure.
impossible to schedule for.
Hey, we know your three most important things, Wimp, in winning: recruiting, scheduling, and then coaching.
Yeah, but
recruiting was second. I mean, scheduling was second to recruiting in your list of priorities.
Hey, now, I think Indiana State wants to play. Now, Indiana State, Larry Bird played there. Yeah, like 30 years ago. What's that got to do with it?
Yeah, right.
Larry Bird
I
played
didn't do bad. I didn't.
Okay.
Both of you guys don't know your butts from left field. I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Kevin. Who wins this Georgia-Alabama game, you think?
Yeah. I'm leaning Alabama because for a couple of reasons. One, I'm still not sold on Carson Beck. I know he's had great numbers. I just don't know that he is an elite quarterback. I'm going to say that out loud. I think he's very good, but I don't know that he's elite. I don't know that he can have the kind of game that can win a game like this. Now, he did step up in the second half and make the difference in beating Auburn last year when they were on the ropes. Auburn played its probably, along with the Alabama game, its best games under Freeze. Carson Beck stepped up. Now, he had Brock Bowers to throw to, and some of his throws weren't great, and Brock Bowers turned them into critical completions on third downs, et cetera.
So Milroe is elite?
I'm not saying he is elite. I think he is, but I will say this. I think Jalen Milroe may be the most electric player in the country in terms of being able at any moment to hit a 50-yard throw down the field, to tuck it and run 77 yards for a touchdown. Carson Beck can't do that, certainly. Jalen Milroe can. He's still progressing as a passer, especially in the mid-range. So he still has room to grow, but I just think he can be more of a weapon because of the different things he can do, and he's done it in big games. So, and they're playing at home. Don't discount that. That home crowd matters. And I just think I'm not sure this Georgia team is on the level of the last few Georgia teams that were, may have been the best team in the country last year if they had found a way to beat Alabama in the SEC championship game and gone to the playoff. They might have demonstrated that, but obviously Alabama got in their way again.
I just don't think Alabama. I don't know yet, but I don't think they faced a good quarterback this year. The guy at West Kentucky was bad. Wisconsin's guy got hurt. The guy for South Florida,
the backup was awful.
The guy for South Florida could run, but he couldn't throw. Carson Beck's not going to miss those guys running wide open.
Well, Carson Beck that's the danger. I think there are two keys to this. Is Alabama's secondary. First of all, Alabama, and you guys know, pass defense is not just the secondary alone. You got to get a pass rush. You got to put pressure and heat on Carson Beck. You got to make him move. He's not a statue back there. He can move around a little bit in the pocket. He's not going to tuck it and run 50, but you got to put pressure on him. And that's going to be the key for the Alabama defense is can they put pressure? And then for the Alabama offense, can they protect Jalen Milroe? And Georgia's going to bring more heat than anybody they've played by far. So, and Georgia doesn't have to use a lot of exotic blitzes to do it. They've got guys that can beat you man on man. They can get to the quarterback, or at least make Jalen Milroe get off his spot. Now he can make plays when he gets off his spot. Sometimes he's more dangerous when he's off his spot. So, from a football standpoint, I think those are the two key matchups on both sides of the ball. Well, Alabama's offensive line, Alabama's secondary.
When you schedule in the life of basketball coaches, you study your team before you schedule. You two goobers don't catch that.
Yeah,
Of course we goobers get that.
Yeah, the way you schedule, you couldn't schedule that way. Now you would schedule yourself right into the NIT scheduling like you used to schedule.
Am I coaching now?
Well, I'm just saying, you schedule properly.
I said to you, you plan what you do by the kind of team you had. My teams were 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm not talking about now.
You always talk
about now. I don't give a damn if Alabama plays.
But you always talk about the football team schedules are done 7, 8 years out. You don't know what your team's going to be.
I used the word basketball. I didn't use the word football.
Yeah.
They are scheduled, and that's the reason that to Kevin. Both you guys have to realize when you were scheduling those games that Florida's got where they could lose, they were stomping people, and it changed.
Florida was?
Years. Well, they were beating people. They had Steve Spurrier and them there.
Yeah, but that's Steve Spurrier. That's been like 20-something years ago.
No, it ain't been no 20-something years. I don't know how long it's been, but they had good teams. They had pretty good teams.
Kevin.
Steve Spurrier's last year at Florida was 2001. That's 23 years ago.
Yeah, 23 years ago. So,
well, you guys.
But your point is well taken, Wimp. But
Florida,
Barry, I think you touched a nerve.
Yeah, well, Florida, you don't ever schedule the way they schedule. I don't care what team you got.
Nobody should do that. That's over scheduling.
Yeah, and you're trying to recruit against Miami and Central Florida and Florida State, and you got
Miami until this year couldn't beat their grandmother.
Well, you're going back to when Steve Spurrier was there.
Well, I know, but Miami, you talk about Miami, could beat anybody.
They're still tough to beat.
Jimmy Johnson
it's a rivalry game. Yeah, it's still a rivalry game.
They could beat you in recruiting because they got Miami to sell. Anyway,
and they got money to spend.
Yeah, Kevin, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter /X at Kevin Skarbinski. Keep up with my 2 columns a week in the Birmingham Lead. You can go to BirminghamLead.com, subscribe to that publication, and also watch me on Saturdays with my partner in crime, Scott Griffin, 6:30 on CBS 42. We have an hour-long show this week. I know a lot of you will be watching Alabama, Georgia at the time, but you can either record us. We'll be talking heavily about Auburn, of course, because their game against Oklahoma will be over, and maybe the Hugh era will be closer to over. Depending on how that turns out. So watch us on CBS 42, but you can watch us again on the website after the Alabama-Georgia game.
Dad, I would call that bad scheduling, too, because scheduling a sports show at the same time.
At 6:30 on Saturdays.
Yeah, with Alabama and Georgia. Would you call that good scheduling?
It wasn't real good.
Yeah, that's not good scheduling.
Let's just say, I didn't make the schedule there. I wasn't the head coach.
You have to schedule the way they want you. Sometimes that's what I had to do.
Yeah, what time is Alabama and Georgia kicking off? 6:30. All right, let's do our show then. UAB ought to play at 6:30. Then they'll win.
Hey, how about this? Navy comes to UAB at 11 o'clock on Saturday.
Oh.
So it is a great day. The games are spaced out perfectly. UAB Navy in the morning, Auburn, Oklahoma in the afternoon, and then the big one, Alabama, Georgia in the evening. Perfect day to curl up in the lazy boy and watch football.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, guys. See you.
All right. That's terrible scheduling. You do a show at 6:30 on Saturday night? Like, huh?
Zero.
Who thought that through? Whoever thought that through should be with Hugh Freeze fired. All right, we'll take this top of the hour break. We want to thank Yellowwood. They made the 7 o'clock hour possible. They do it for you each and every day. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer close to you. And if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, you don't want it.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Martin Weiss.
The Cincinnati Bengals now 0-3 after they dropped one to the Commanders 38-33. Joe Burrow had 3 touchdown passes in a loss, but Jaden Daniels stole the show with 21 of 23 passing. His completion percentage, 91.4, the highest for a rookie with a minimum of 20 attempts, had 3 total touchdowns. First game in over 60 years without a punt or a turnover. Buffalo's 3-0 after beating the Jaguars. They led 30 34-3 at the half, 47-10 the final score. Josh Allen had 4 touchdown passes. DeMar Hamlin got his first career interception. Trevor Lawrence finished 21 of 38 for 178 yards with a touchdown and an interception. He's now lost his last 8 straight starts dating back to last season. The Phillies clinched the NL East title after beating the Cubs 6-2, first time since 2011. Houston lost to Seattle 6-1, and the Diamondbacks lost to the Giants 6-3. I'm Martin Weiss.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join Martin and Xavier on the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Wednesday edition of the program. It's a Wild Card Wednesday. We love to add you to the conversation on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline at 205-342-9904. We'll continue to talk all things dogs. We'll look at what's the keys to victory. We'll look at the strengths and the weaknesses of these two programs. It's the biggest game of the year, and you don't want to miss it on the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are still looking at slight slow goes on 2059 eastbound between Highway 11 and Tuscaloosa Coaling and Skyland Boulevard and Tuscaloosa Coaling. This is construction in the area. Otherwise, more road work on 2059 eastbound between Joe Malisham and McFarland.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
In Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. I want to thank Andrew Kniffer. Andrew is my Allstate insurance agent. If you're looking to make a change, Andrew is your guy. Give him a call today. It's 205-722-9201. Looking for auto, home, life insurance, whatever you need. These guys will take great care of you. Once again, Andrew Kniffer, Allstate Insurance, 205-722-9201. All right, get to the Andrew Kniffer hotline and get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom. Morning, Barry. Morning, Coach. How are y'all this morning?
All right. How are you?
We're all right. Good. Thanks for asking. No, you were talking about Harold Perkins, and that is one of the worst coaching jobs of a kid that I have ever seen. When Harold Perkins signed with LSU, his freshman year, he could not be blocked. They had him playing as an edge rusher, and you just couldn't block him. And so what did LSU and all their infinite wisdom do? They moved him to an inside linebacker. You ain't heard from him again.
Yeah, he was dynamic that first year. It's kind of fallen off. I don't know if
because they moved him.
Yeah, you think that's what it was?
They moved him to the inside. Yeah. And I mean, everybody in the world said, "How stupid can you get moving an elite athlete like that off of the line of scrimmage when nobody could block him?"
Yeah,
Alabama couldn't.
Yeah, well, now he's probably not ever going to play at LSU again. He tore his ACL, so I'm sure he'll.
You know, that makes me. It's like Lattimore. You know, they wasn't playing him out of position at South Carolina, but he was such a good football player. Not only that, a good person too.
Great.
And then
person.
It goes down. You know, yeah, it goes down with that knee injury, and you just get sick at your stomach for something like that happening to a talent like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, He was there when I was there. He wasn't a good kid. He was a great kid, and just
I know.
a modeled citizen, and came back, and then it was against Tennessee. You could hear a pin drop in that stadium when that kid went down. It was sad.
I was watching that game. I remember when it happened, I was watching that game, and everybody you knew it was bad from the reaction from both sidelines.
Yeah. And, you know, his teammates had so much respect for him. He ended up getting drafted, but never played a down in the NFL. So,
I know. And it was a shame because he was a great talent.
Yeah.
Now, I know he was a great person. I got that part down pat.
Yeah.
But his talent was outstanding.
Yeah.
And you know, he was one of the highest ranked recruits when he came out of high school. Everybody and their freaking brother wanted him.
Yeah. No doubt.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, well, what were you going to say?
I was saying anything else. No, go ahead.
You know, Hugh Freeze, Coach Freeze, I want to bring this up. Now, you're going to laugh at me and poo-poo this right off the air, but I've got a theory about this. I think something's going on. Philip, one of your great callers, posted to me and another couple of three guys that we talked back and forth. He thinks that there's some rub in the athletic department between personalities of Hugh Freeze and others. and I got to thinking about that, and, you know, that could very well be. It happens. You get a lot of egotistical type individuals in an organization, and problems can arise. And but you know, at Auburn, if you go back and look at the history, you know those coaches, they go, you know what, if I take this job here, at least I'll be rich if they run me off. And I believe that's what's going on with Hugh Freeze. I believe he's like, I'll take this buyout and I'll go coach high school ball in Arkansas.
I don't think these guys think that way. They don't want to take the abuse that they're taking. These guys want to win. I don't understand
that.
He'd
shut his mouth. If he don't like abuse, he'd shut up.
Yeah, you would think. I don't know. It's embarrassing to me, as you could tell. But I was on this last week where it was driving me crazy. So
you were ahead of everybody.
It multiplied this week. So anyway, thank you,
and
Tom.
Then Bo Wallace.
Yeah, Bo Wallace. Thank you, Tom. All right, back up to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Philip in. Hey, Philip.
Hey, Barry and Wimp. Hope y'all doing good. I was just want to say something about this Freeze situation down in Auburn. I've lived near Auburn all my life, except for a couple of pit stops to other little places. But if DeBoer, you know, if Alabama was able to beat Georgia Saturday and Auburn loses to Oklahoma and things sort of get out of control down there, let me tell you something. This may just be year 2 for Hugh Freeze at Auburn, but I don't know if it's going to end all that beautifully. If they were to collapse and he continued to make these statements like he did about Sam Pittman, I could see this having kind of a nasty ending.
Well, I do think if they continue to lose, that if there's any of those recruits that are committed that Alabama wants, I think they can go flip who they want. Probably.
And that'll be a big part of that. Yeah. But just looking at Auburn's schedule going forward, and of course, this is all conjecture. This is conjecture on 2 programs, what Alabama does from Saturday night on and from what Auburn does from Saturday on. But Auburn still got to play Georgia next week. They got to go to Missouri. They got to go to Kentucky. They've got Vanderbilt, which will play your tail off. They've got Louisiana Monroe, which they can score points. They do host Texas A&M, but they finish at Alabama. You know, that's going to be really hard for them at the way they're playing right now to win 2 more games. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, you have a hard time finding 2 or 3 wins on the rest of that schedule based on how they're playing now. Maybe they'll maybe they'll get it fixed. But 5 home games, and if they could end up 2-3 with 5 home games, and what's coming on the back end of that. So we'll see. All right, Phil, we got to get to Tim Brando. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll take the break here, and then we'll get to Tim Brando. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Definitely beefing up in the area as we now have heavy delays, heavier on McFarland. And this is moving in that westbound direction in between Hargrove and University. You got some road construction in that vicinity as well. And then again on McFarland in between Watermelon and at Lurleen Wallace, you can expect some delays.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
The Bear is brought to you by North River Outdoors. Check us out at NorthRiverOutdoors.com.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at BMWofTuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by Everwood Treatment Company, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Everwood, wood treated right. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On Monday, Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer met with the media as Alabama begins preparations for Georgia.
Just getting into our SEC opener, so it's exciting for us and our program, and obviously with Georgia coming in here, ton of respect for Coach Smart and everything he's accomplished in his career, and obviously they're at Georgia with all the success they've had, and so good to be playing at home. We need our crowd, our fans, to bring the energy, and obviously we got to do our part to make it exciting and make sure that there's things to cheer for. So looking forward to a great atmosphere and an awesome weekend for our program. So. Bye week, you get a chance to get some guys healthy, and so that was good. Even maybe not guys that you're noticing maybe being out. It's just guys that got dings and going through practice and just doing everything they can.
I'll have more in moments.
Producing championship quality lumber is not an easy process, but at Everwood Preserving, it's our only process. Wood treated right. Everwood offers top-notch pressure-treated wood for decks, outdoor structures, commercial jobs, and more that you can build your reputation on. When it comes to quality, we're on the winning team. Visit your local Everwood dealer today and discover the difference for yourself. Everwood Preserving Incorporated, the official lumber of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
If you missed last night's edition of Crimson Tide Rewind, catch it on demand on the Alabama Insider podcast. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Everwood. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back to Inside the Locker, Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. Look at the new inventory, the pre-owned. Schedule a service. You can rent a Toyota right there at the website. We'll talk to Justin tomorrow about all the great deals they got out on Skyland Boulevard. Swing by there today. Tell them that Wimp and Barry sent you. All right, we get right to the Tuscaloosa Toyota hotline. He's with Fox. He does college football with Fox.
Does a good job.
Does a good job. We tried to get him last week, and he didn't want to talk to us last week. Tim Brando. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Tim, I want to tell you something. This is your lucky day.
How's that?
Because last week, you fussing so much about Alabama's not being in the rankings, and now they're number 7. You got off a lot of. Of course, we don't want to take calls on this show, but we bombard you after the show's over. Your thoughts about Alabama football, about the Georgia game, and Nick Saban?
Well, let me begin, first of all, with an apology, because I'm sorry I missed you last week. I felt horrible about it. I was in the midst of preparing for 2 games. And Barry, you're right. I'm known more for my college work, but last week Fox called me out of the bullpen, and I did an NFL game on Sunday too. So I was preparing for 4 teams and 2 games in a 3-day span, and I just flat out slept through my own phone alarm on my wristwatch that I carry with me. That I've got one of those iPhone wristwatches, and normally it works to perfection, but I had it muted and didn't realize it, and I apologize for that. So
let me ask you this, Tim. Let me ask you.
I was willing to face the music last week. I really was. Just so you know, I wasn't running from you. I was a little bit whipped after some long flights and being a little bit tired with quick turnarounds. So I apologize for that.
Well, Dad, evidently Tim thinks that bye is really good.
Hell yeah!
He did
not. Hell yeah, they're good.
He did not have. He did not have Alabama ranked in the top 15. Then they played bye. And they went all the way to number 7, Tim.
Exactly. And you know why?
There's people here that say you'd hate Alabama. Talk to us.
Well, first and foremost, bye is not a loss. Okay, no. and bye is a week when you can get better. Right? That's what the coaches always say. Right? We used our bye week to get better. Isn't that their cliche? I believe they use that all the time. But no, the truth is, teams in front of them played poorly last week. I dropped a number of teams, okay, by example. And even though they may still be in it, Missouri barely got past Vanderbilt at home. That's an example. I dropped them. I drop a lot of teams. Kansas State, who looked really good, lost to BYU badly. Now, the game was in Provo, but they lost. When teams above you, and frankly, Alabama, after their first 2 games, especially the South Florida game, in my opinion, was highly overrated by everybody. Now, the way I view it is completely different from the way the pollsters view it. The Alabama fans and Alabama people in general are accustomed to being ranked based on their brand, not their performance. I gave up my AP vote a long time ago when they were part of the BCS, and I loathe the BCS, as everybody knows. So when I found out that they were using that the Bowl Championship Series was using that as part of their process, I said I don't want to vote anymore with the AP because I think it's a joke, because they just stockpile the biggest names. And I don't think a lot of the teams that are playing the best football week by week are ranked. So on a sliding scale with me, you can go from week to week to unranked to number 7 or higher if you really perform well. But I'll also drop you 10 or 11 spots if you have a bad game, even if you're Georgia, Bama, Oregon. I dropped Oregon, who was my preseason number 1. I believe they're going to win it all this year. Okay, you guys go back and look at my preseason poll. I had them number 1. They played so poorly in their opening game, I dropped them to 11. I dropped them 10 spots. So, what I did with Alabama is not uncommon in my poll. Weekly, I base it solely on performance, not what they did the week before, not what their image and reputation is, solely on their performance the week before. And my preseason poll is just a prediction. It's just based on who I think is going to wind up where at the end of the year. So it confuses people. I get that. But, the age-old Brando hates Alabama crap. I am so sick and tired of these clowns, these fans that are disguised as media that write for these websites, Bammer, Jammer, Up Your Rammer, Brando, Piehole websites. It makes me sick to my stomach. If you want to get ahead in this business, I don't care if you're a writer or a broadcaster, placating to one individual fan base is not going to get you there. Okay? It's not going to get you there. It's not going to win you street cred. or give you a better seat in the press box at Bryant-Denny Stadium, okay? They don't care. But what you're doing to yourself as a fan, waving your own damn pom-pom by blasting the announcers who you believe should be, genuflecting at the very thought that they get to utter the word Alabama football, that's not going to do you any good. But they do it to me, and they've made a career out of doing it to me.
Hey, Tim, I've had enough of this. I got to stir up something. Tell our listeners who's going to win the Alabama-Georgia game and why.
Georgia is going to win the game.
Okay, thank you. And why?
Because they are, in my opinion, a better team with better personnel and greater depth, and it will show in this game. Now, I realize that the history of this series, especially during the Saban era against Kirby, is tilted heavily towards Alabama. All right, and understandably, the betting public feels the same way. That's another thing. This is another thing that comes up today because betting is now so in vogue, and it's spending so much of the media is spending time on it, and this happens because major corporations like the one I work for at Fox and ESPN have, invested in the gaming world. All right. So now they will tell you that the FPI says the 95% chance of Alabama winning. So therefore, how could you pick against Alabama? Tim Brando's an ignorant slut. Why would you do that? I don't give a damn what the betting public or what the gaming people in Vegas say. I never have. If it was all about who's favored to win the game, why would we even bother to play the damn game? The worst invention in sports television since embraced debate, okay, is the FPI. All right, it's a waste of time, a complete waste of time. You got a bunch of nerds that are looking at computers, don't know a damn thing about football, telling me that based on the history of a series, you got to look up and down the rosters. You got to see who's playing now. Georgia's got better personnel, and they're deeper at every position than Alabama. I mean, that's just a fact. Now, a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case. Nick had the better personnel. And you know what? That's why they dominated the series. And I'm not suggesting to you that, listen, I love Kalen DeBoer. These are the same people saying I hate Alabama that were ready to jump off bridges there. And I was telling them, no, Kalen DeBoer is the right hire. He is. And look, you might win the game, and you could win the national title. And if you do, you can say, Brando, you ignorant slut, and I'll admit to it. But right now, Georgia is the better team. They played poorly at Kentucky because everybody is going to have a bad game somewhere. And Kentucky was coming off an embarrassment against South Carolina. They played their butts off in that game against Georgia. And Georgia was, kind of resting on their laurels and had a bad game. Everybody's going to have one. A clunker is out there for everybody. Even for Georgia.
Now this is for our listeners because you're good. This is a Tim tells the truth question.
Yes.
Deep down in your heart, you are hacked.
Deep down in my heart, I'm what?
You're mad. Or disgusted, or whatever phrase you can use. You're good, too. Deep down in your heart, you're disgusted behind the scenes, way back there in the closet, with a hat on when nobody can see you. You're disgusted that Nick Saban left and went to Alabama when he was at LSU. After I know he was a fan.
No, I'm not at all.
I'm wrong?
No, I'm not, Whip. I'm not.
I'm wrong.
I understood completely that he went to Alabama. Why wouldn't you go to Alabama if you're Nick? The job, number one, was available. And number two, the history and tradition of football in Alabama is greater than that of LSU. So if you're going to take a job where you're going to be successful and maybe be considered the greatest of all time, you got a better chance of being that at Alabama than you would at LSU. Now,
let me tell you this. I tried hard.
Let me qualify this, Wimp. My daughter and other LSU, people that went to LSU do feel that way about Nick. No question. Okay. And I have to talk those people off the ledge down in Baton Rouge all the time. They're jumping off the old Mississippi River Bridge and the new one about Nick Still, leaving, going to Miami, and then coming back to, of all places, Alabama. It was a little bit like Patino going back into the state of Kentucky, but going to Louisville. You know that. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It is. But it doesn't affect me one way or the other. I could give a damn. All right, where these guys
before Barry says something, I got one other question.
Okay.
You liked Dale Brown better than you did me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
You know what, Barry, this is true. I got to tell you this about Wimp. This is one of the reasons why we're such good friends. He knew that Dale helped my career. He knew that I was a young broadcaster and that Dale, the whole Tiger Vision thing, when we started doing pay-per-view cable way back in the ice ages of cable TV in 1982, I was 26 years old. And Dale was already, in 1979-80, he had me doing his television show. I was making $1,000 a month working in radio in a tiny station in Port Allen, Louisiana. And he gave me a break to be a part of his show. And all of a sudden, these people in Baton Rouge knew who I was. And that led to so many more opportunities for me. So he knew that I was, tied very closely to Coach Brown. Well, we go in to do a game. I'm working at ESPN now. Fast forward to about 1990 or so, 89, 90. Might have been when Shaq was there. Might have been one of the few times that at Alabama that Dale actually won one in Tuscaloosa. You killed him in Tuscaloosa. He couldn't beat Wimp in Tuscaloosa, but he could beat Kentucky at Kentucky. He beat Kentucky 18 times, more than any other coach in his tenure. But he couldn't beat Wimp. So we go in before the game, and I'd had a game the night before, so I missed the shoot around, Barry. So I come in. I always want to talk to the coaches before the game. So I talked to, I think it was Larry White. I said, Larry, I need to see Wimp. So I go back there, and it's just Wimp and me. And he looked at me, he put his arm on my shoulder, Barry, and he said, Ken, I know you love Dale. I just want you to know that, and I understand that. But the thing I love most about you is you're good to everybody. You cover the SEC. You're good to everybody.
Well, I'm brown nosing you. Yeah,
you were brown nosing the hell out of me, and I knew it. But winning the favor of the coaches in the Southeastern Conference, whether it's football or basketball, if you're from a state where there's a major program like LSU is in Louisiana, and look, there's no denying, I grew up on LSU football. Like, I didn't go there, and I didn't have any love or affinity for them as a fan. But, yeah, I'm a native of the state of Louisiana. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, just as you guys are being in the Alabama Hall of Fame. But Wimp took the time to come to me just one last time and say, guys, would you just be good to me on the air, too, at ESPN? Would you please be good to me, too?
I don't know. I don't think I said that.
Yeah, you did. But you also said I respect the hell out of you. And he made me feel so good. It really did make me feel good. And
Tim,
but there's no denying I have an undying love for Dale Brown, and I will.
Sure.
I go to my grave.
Now you have to admit that
Take over, Barry.
When Alabama destroys Wisconsin, I know the quarterback went out. It's not Alabama's fault. You're just trying to throw fuel on the fire when you don't put them in the top 15. Like the Bama fans.
Well, I had them there. I had them there prior to that, and I just didn't think the Wisconsin game was enough to elevate them to where they were in the other polls. In fact, I just thought, because I'd had Wisconsin 2 weeks earlier, and I wasn't impressed with them. I thought Wisconsin was they were overrated too, because they've had recent success. They got a transfer quarterback that is okay, but not great. It didn't work out for Tyler Van Dyke at Miami. And they're better off now with Cam Ward than they were with him. But a lot of people were putting a lot of stock into that blowout at Wisconsin, and I just didn't do it. And I think that's probably what upset a lot of people there. You're probably right.
Yeah. Well, and they go from that to 7. And so.
Yeah. Well, like I said, teams in front of them lost. Teams in front of them, if they didn't lose, played poorly. And again, it's not just about winning and losing. It's about how you perform with me. All right, I want to see, and I do see, bits and pieces of every game televised every week. And my poll is just mine. I just do it for blanks and giggles.
Sure.
But I also do it. I will tell you, my top 12 of those 15 that are a part of my poll are in the Outkick top 12 that Clay Travis is putting out now every week. I'm one of the 6 or so panelists that are part of that. So I am taking part in the Outkick poll.
Yeah, Clay
but again,
Travis
I'm just
can take a hike.
Yeah, what direction do you think LSU's going? Are they trending up? Their program as a whole, not necessarily this season, but where is that program trending, Tim?
Well, I did get them. I think I put them. Do I have them in my?
No,
they were just out.
They were just
I
out.
got them just out. Well, and I think Nussmeier is an incredible talent. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and he was, I think, not only just co-offensive player of the week in the SEC this past week, but he's having to do it right now, fellas, sort of the same way Daniels did last year when he won the Heisman, without much help. He's not getting help from his defense, even though, they didn't give up as many points to a bad UCLA team. They still aren't impressive. And by the way, they just lost Harold Perkins to a season-ending knee injury. So I don't think the prospects for LSU for the rest of the year are very good. But Nussmeier is the goods. I mean, he may be the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference. LSU may have the best SEC quarterback again this year. I mean, he's that good. Even Burrow would tell you that. And I think Joe Burrow is probably, in recent years, one of the best, you could argue, one of the best quarterbacks, not just here, but certainly at the next level in the NFL. Burrow is, he's not Mahomes yet, and he's been banged up a little bit, and Cincinnati's not helping him right now. But for Nussmeier has really done a great job. And offensively, that team is still good enough, to maybe get them potentially into a playoff contending position. But I don't think the prospects for them are very good. Offensively, yeah, they're trending in a positive way, and maybe positive enough to warrant that they will escalate their season shortly. But I think long term, without Perkins, they're in trouble. I don't see them beating Bama now, and I don't see them beating any of the other teams that fall into a category of being more complete than they are. And right now, that would include Tennessee and maybe Missouri as well, and Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is the best team not named Georgia right now in the Southeastern Conference because they're doing it. Now, granted, they haven't played a great team yet, but their defense has certainly given every indication that they are now as good as they've ever been under Lane Kiffin. So right now, I like Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, and then I would look at Alabama after them. Alabama could prove me wrong, but the most complete team now in terms of performance level would have to be Tennessee because of their win at Oklahoma and the way they did it. The way their defense has shown up to go along with this incredibly gifted and athletic quarterback that could take Josh Heupel to great heights. So I don't know. Right now, I don't think that Alabama can beat Georgia. I don't think they'd beat Tennessee right now.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on what's going on with Hugh Freeze? Have you what he's been saying? Yeah. Like it's bad, Tim. That's bad.
It is. But Barry, quarterback coaches and offensive gurus are going to be hard on their quarterbacks. They always have been. Spurrier was.
Well, he needs to be hard on himself for not recruiting a better one.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and also missing on talent judgment. Okay, when you're hitting the portal and when you're hitting the recruiting trails and you're doing well, and he's gone after some of the biggest names. I mean, they are, at least I think a lot of people at Auburn were happy that Hugh got the job because they thought that they would go after some of the same players that Nick would traditionally get. And actually, they have had some success in that area. But once you get them, you got to develop them. And I think that has a lot to do with why they're not performing the way they are. And I think that, when you live in a small college environment like Auburn, sometimes it's hard to hide the wounds of people's feelings. And I think that's kind of what's going on here is bruised egos with a team and its NIL circumstances and the transfer portal circumstances. Listen, I think this can go away as soon as they get a big win at Auburn. I think it can go away as soon as they get one. Now, listen, Arkansas was in desperate need of a win. And when you're playing a team that's got a greater sense of desperation and hunger for a conference win, you can be in real trouble. You know, Arkansas was in a position to beat a really good Oklahoma State team, blew the game, outplayed them, should have won the game, didn't do it. So they were on the precipice of doing something like this against Auburn. I wasn't shocked that they won the game, but people pouncing on Hugh.
Did you hear what Hugh said last night on his radio show? You heard what he said last night? No, I did not. No, he said, with all respect to Sam Pittman, if we played Arkansas 9 more times, we'd beat them 9 times.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. Well,
and they got to go to Arkansas next year. Good luck.
I don't disagree with that, but I will say one of the things that really was for me, I'll say this about the great Nick Saban. He might have been the worst about giving the opposition credit whenever his team didn't play well. It was never about the other team's performance. It was about what his guys didn't do. So maybe he got caught up with a little Nick Sabanism and felt like it would work in the state of Alabama.
I don't remember Nick Saban rolling his guys under the bus like Hugh Freeze is doing.
Well, no, not specifically. You're right. Not specifically. But Nick is a defensive coach. He's a quarterback stopper, not a quarterback whisperer. And quarterback whisperers, guys that call the plays and are involved in every play that takes place. Those are guys that just cannot lose it. They lose it often. Did you happen to see the tweet that Bo Wallace put out, the Ole Miss quarterback?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so he knows, okay? And listen, Hugh Freeze took Bo Wallace's career that was nowhere and turned him into somebody. I mean, he really did. And I thought it was interesting that he said that, you know what, he was really good for me, but I wouldn't let my son play for him. That was telling to me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's something that you didn't like to read. But at the same time, we live in a world now of images and impressions, and the image of Hugh, I know, matters to him. So he needs to get a win, and when he does it, I think he's going to have to be a little more contrite. That's part of the process. Now that you're back in the SEC and you're not at Liberty and you're not at Arkansas State, you got to be able to handle that kind of defeat. And what you say in the postgame is going to make a lot more noise, you know, in places like Auburn and Ole Miss than it ever did at places like Arkansas State and Liberty. That's just part of it. And he's been around long enough to know that.
Yeah.
He has. There are no excuses for that. And does he deserve to have people piling on right now? Yeah, he does. Sure. I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, Tim, we appreciate it.
It's been great. And you just wiggled around Barry's questions and mine, too, just perfectly. I asked 3 good questions. Barry asked some good ones, too, and you wiggled around all of them. I got one.
He always brags on his questions, Tim. He always
yeah, I know he does. What you got one more, Wimp?
No, I'm through.
Well, if Georgia wins, we'll bring you back and you can gloat. If Bama wins, we'll bring you back and we'll pick you apart. There you go.
You're great. Thank you.
Well, here's the deal. There's no gloating, but either way, just spell the damn name right, will you? Just spell it right. It's Brando, all right? Not EAUX, not AO, not, just spell the name correctly. All right?
You're great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Y'all be good. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's tell them about Bryant Bank and go to break.
Well, after that introduction and so forth, the questions that Barry and I asked, Tim Brando did a good job for us, and Bryant Bank will do a good job for you. 4 locations in Tuscaloosa, several locations in Birmingham. I've been with them for a long time. Sometimes I talk about walking in and seeing the banker and visiting with him, but the banker's surrounded by people that know what they're doing as well. You can bank online around the clock. Your money is going to be safe. You might have a personal account or you might have a business account there, where you may have both. But I'll promise you one thing, they'll be well taken care of. Go by Bryant Bank and tell them you heard on Inside the Locker Room. I've already told you a couple of people went by there and they said they'd heard on the radio, and Barry and I are thankful for that. So tell them that if you will, and you see people that are looking to open up an account, tell them to go by Bryant Bank and tell them you heard on Inside the Locker Room. That's it.
It's Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking at your rush to work delays, and now it's starting to kind of thin out. So that's actually a good thing. We're not doing so shabby on McFarland Boulevard, even though you do have some patchy slow goes from time to time. And this is in between 5th and Rice Mine Road and Lurleen Wallace. Lurleen Wallace on the northbound lanes to McFarland.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Stay up to date with the Crimson Tide.
Local high school sports and Bama in the pros right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. I get right to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Digger in. Good morning, Digger.
Hey, Digger.
Yeah, what did I tell you? What did I tell you?
About what?
I promise you he cannot stand Texas. He despises them. He finds us intrusive. He thinks we're predatory. We don't belong in the SEC. Should have never left the Big 12. He won't admit it, but he feels threatened by Texas.
Good radio, boy.
I promise you. Notice how he didn't bring them up. I'm not looking for credence from that little creep. Okay? Never mind we're number one in the country, but bring it up, Brando. I mean, he's going to give Tennessee all these lofty achievements for so far, and I get it. They are playing good. But is a win over Michigan better than a win over Oklahoma? You tell me. They just beat the number 11 team in the country. Michigan did in their own backyard. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, Brando is a fraud. Okay, and let me say something. I know he's got all this allegiance to Dale Brown, but you know it's no secret. Dale Brown was just running all over that campus, breaking all kinds of NCAA rules, and nobody kept him in check. Okay, I remember vividly. He had a little dust-up with the food services at LSU. He was going in there taking steaks, and he was cooking steaks for the recruits, okay, which is a violation. You can't go in there and have a big cookout. He was doing what Perlis was doing, throwing parties and having big steaks. I'm telling you. Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, missed it.
Yeah. Why do people really care who Brando likes and dislikes? What does it matter? Why do people get so worked up about that?
You know why? Because he's got the bully pulpit. He's got a little channel where he can run his mouth with Spencer Tillman, okay? And that's what he does. And I tell you what, you got to admit it, he does a very good job at it. He really does. If he want to agitate USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, you name it, he will find a way.
There you go. Thank you, Digger.
Have a good one.
Good job, Digger.
All right, we'll take this last break, wrap up the show. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM, WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m., The Martin Houston Show.
Join Martin and Xavier on the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care, for a Wednesday edition of the program. It's a Wild Card Wednesday. We'd love to add you to the conversation on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline at 205-342-9904. We'll continue to talk all things dogs. We'll look at what's the keys to victory. We'll look at the strengths and the weaknesses of these two programs. It's the biggest game of the year, and you don't want to miss it on the Martin Houston Show, powered by Box Eye Care.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking at your rush to work delays, and now it's starting to kind of thin out. So that's actually a good thing. We're not doing so shabby on McFarland Boulevard, even though you do have some patchy slow goes from time to time. And this is in between 5th and Rice Mine Road and Lurleen Wallace. Lurleen Wallace on the northbound lanes to McFarland.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Shots together too. Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental-car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Coverage begins at 3:30 on your home for Alabama football.
Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi. You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. We appreciate Kevin Skarbinsky, Tim Brando being with us this morning. Look forward to the show tomorrow. We got Coach Jack Crow tomorrow at 7:30. We'll have Bill Cameron at 8:15. I always enjoy business with Bill, find out what's going on down on the plains. All right, people, stop posting about this vote today. Just go vote. We're trying to persuade everybody with your reasons as to why you need to vote a particular way on this property tax. Good land. So some people, all they do is post about this stuff. So let it go. Go vote the way you want to vote. All right, that's it for today's show. Keep it locked in. The Gary Harris Show is next. You're listening to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.